Welcome to episode 1 of the 4 decks of Christmas. Ooh. Alright, so as you can see, I decided to start with Fluffal because, as I said in the announcement video, I really can't wait to get into this. It's such... I love this deck. It's one of the first decks I built when I came back to Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2016. Because if you don't know the story, I played Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid. Played Yu-Gi-Oh! Sort of in college. It was alright. I think I sort of quit around about Xyz format-ish, maybe a little later than that. And then I left the game entirely. Went on with life as it be. And then around about 2016, I re-picked up the interest because I played the Xbox game. And I built like a really shitty deck that I built out of booster packs. But around about then was when... the good old Fusion Enforcers set came out, and that's when I discovered the beauty that is Fluffals and how cute and cuddly and dumb they look. So that's the first deck I built. Technically, Ancient Gears takes that title in the sense of first deck I built, but this is the first deck I built that wasn't a structure deck, basically, because Ancient Gears I just got 3 structure decks done. This, I straight up got cards from packs, traded and whatnot, and I finally built the deck. So this one holds a special place in my heart for that reason. So let's get into it. First, we're going into the main. I'm maining 3 Fluffal Dog. Now, some people main like 1 or 2 of it, but I run 3 because I never not want to see Dog. It's like the main searcher for the deck. Plus... It's a Fluffal. It's good for the fusions. It's a level 4 if you want to go into rank 4 plays, which there is a rank 4, but Dog wouldn't be useful for that. But still, it's kind of good. Like a straight up generic searcher for all Fluffals and like 1 edge imp is still very good, even though the edge imp is very specific. But alright, Fluffal Dog. Next we have another 3 of, which is Fluffal Owl. Reason being is it's your main poly searcher, if not your... Yeah, it's like one of your 2 main poly searchers. There's only 2 poly searchers in this entire deck. This is one of them. Also, it's a fusion card in on itself, which is really good, because obviously this deck is like all about fusions. What the hell is that on Dog? Ugh. But yeah, this entire deck's based on fusion, so a card that searches polymerization and fuses at the same time, and is from the archetype itself, so it's usable in the fusions itself. I can't fault it. So I run 3 of that too. Next is a 2 of, which I'm going to probably get controversial like shit for, but 2 Bear. Sure, Searching Toy Vendor is great, but I can't remember the set it came out in. I think it's like... wouldn't be Phantom Rage because that was recently. Might have been Phantom Rage. But we got Fluffal support recently, basically. Which made Bear good at 2. But you don't really need it at more than that. It's good to get the Toy Vendor out. And in the grave it's good as banished fodder for like fusions and whatnot. But other than that, it has no real purpose. So if you get through all of your Toy Vendors already, Bear is just a fusion fodder at that point. And I can see me bricking a little more with these than I can see me bricking with those, because at least those I have effects on field. This is just discard or fuse it. That's literally its only 2 effects, so yeah. Next is, I'm not moving it out of the way because the next is the 2 wings I was on about. So these 2 work really well together, hence why I'm running 2 of this too. So basically you discard Bear, get the vendor. Off vendor effect, discard the wings. Wings effect engrave, and then go off on like a massive like plus from it. So it's good, but obviously if you're only running 2 Bear, you don't really want to see more than 2 wings in the entire build. So that's the whole reason I'm running 2 wing. Oops, shit, drop the bears. Right, next we have our double penguin. Fluffal Penguin is really good for the fusion effect and for its summon effect. So basically, while this is on board, I can get an additional summon. Plus, I also it's fusion effect is basically Dark World dealings on steroids. Because it's draw 2, discard 1. So you plus off it anyway. So this is a major plus in the deck. I run 2 instead of 3 because, I don't know, I like the synergy of 2 more. So putting 3 in doesn't really work out great for me. And the next one I'm going to show is Dolphin. This is the support I was on about that we got. So this effect is, while I've got a toy vendor in grave, when this is summoned, I can search a toy vendor from the grave and set it. Bit like Bear does from deck. So obviously if you've used up your toy vendors, you can just Dolphin it back. Also, Dolphin is really good with Penguin because Penguin can additional summon Dolphin. And then in the extra, it's a bit of a spoiler, I'm running Bahamut Shark. So you Penguin into Dolphin, overlay the 2 into Bahamut Shark, and then with Bahamut Shark you go into Toad. Fluffals have access to Toad. It's dumb. It's so dumb. I love it. So yeah, it's 2 of each for that reason. Next we have, again, controversial, and I'm going to show them both at the same time. 2 cat, 2 rabbit. Reason being is cat and rabbit are effects where if they're sent to the graveyard for a fusion summon, they can search either a polymerization or a monster that wasn't itself. So basically cat searches polymerization when it's fused from grave, which is quite nice. So you polymerize to go into cat and, I don't know, an edge imp, go into Frightfur Wolf, then cat will get you the polymerization back to go into another fusion, which is quite nice. And then rabbit is nice for the sheer fact of, it's like, hey, I've now got an additional, I've got one of my monsters back. So say I had Chain in grave from last turn, I fused with rabbit, I've now got Chain in hand, I can now use Chain's effect again, which is really good. So as fusion fodder, they're extremely good. They're better than any other fluffal in this entire deck for fusion fodder. Except for this one. 1 octopus. Now, the reason I'm running 1 octopus instead of like multiple when I just said it's one of the better fusion fodders is because it's kind of situational. It's very good for what it is, but it's kind of situational. So with rabbit and cat, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get their effect off, because with cat you're most likely using polymerization to fuse with it, and with rabbit it has to fuse with something, so you get an additional to hand immediately anyway, so it's quite nice. Octopus requires banished cards for it, which isn't that difficult to get in Fluffals, because obviously Frightfur Fusion and Wings effect and whatnot, but it's not like I want to see as often as, like, say, cat or rabbit or dog or bear. So I run it at 1 because of its effect, but meh. That's it for the Fluffals. Next we're going to go into the Edge Imps. So I'm running 3 Chain because it is a great Frightfur searcher. And I want to say 2 of our best cards in the entire Spell and Traps are Frightfurs. So this searches them instantly, which is extremely good. And then it also, it's like, nothing that this brings out is like non-generic. So it can't, I think there's like 1 non-generic Frightfur it can bring out, which I'm not running. But it's very good for generic fusion summons. You get the effect to search a Frightfur. It's just all round one of the best edge imps we've got. I say one of because there's one more edge imp that's better than this, but this is still an extremely good edge imp just for the sheer fact of it can be a Frightfur searcher. Our best edge imp is the one we got recently in support, Edge Imp Scythe. I cannot give this card enough praise. This is basically a hand trap for Fluffals. So for those who don't know what it does, during your opponent's turn, doesn't care if you've got cards or not, during your opponent's turn, you can discard this card and use it to fuse itself and like another Fluffal to go into a Frightfur. So you get a fusion summon during your opponent's turn, which doesn't sound all that great to begin with, until you realise there's a lot of good fusions that if you summon it on your opponent's turn, you fuck your opponent. So like, say your opponent's about to, I don't know, summoned a monster that can attack over your Fright Fur Wolf. And you're like, ah shit, I need that for next turn for whatever reason. You can scythe, go into Sabertooth in like with like another one of these, like that and a fluffal or something. Go into Sabertooth. Sabertooth is now protected. Sabertooth brings back Wolf in defense or in attack, and that and also Scything Grave is a protection effect. So if a Fright Fur you control would be destroyed, you can banish it and from Grave, and it will protect it, and it's a quick effect. So it's really good. It's, in my opinion, the best edge imp we've got at the moment. Then for the finale of the edge imps, it's only a 2 of Sabres. Reason I'm still running Sabres is A, it's searchable off Dog, B, it's searchable off Toy Vendor. It's the only edge imp that's searchable off those two. But also there's a good couple of generic that need this. So like Wolf requires Sabres and Tiger requires Sabres. So all around, they're extremely good Fright Furs. You kind of need to run Sabres just for that reasoning alone. Yeah, you can run Patchwork, but I'd rather run the Sabres because it adds in consistency anyway. Now we're going into the spells. The all-important free polymerization, which, if you don't know, is golden, premium gold rare, the new one. Oh, so beautiful. I love that rarity. To the point you're going to see that rarity in any deck that can run it at the moment, because I love that rarity so much. Next we got our Fright Fur Patchwork. This is the best Fright card in the deck. I'm not going to lie to you. In main deck, this is the best card. It's a searcher for an edge imp and a polymerization. Now, that alone doesn't sound great. It's like, okay, if I see it, it's good. But obviously, if I don't see it, it's Fright Fur Patchwork. It's searchable off Chain. So what you do is you fuse with Chain, go add Patchwork to hand, Patchwork effect, get another polymerization to use, and get another edge imp to use. So as long as you've got another fluffal, you can go into your second fusion almost instantly. Oh, it's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. Free Fright Fur Fusion. Reason being is with Fright Fur Fusion, you can basically just fuse from the graveyard. And it's searchable off of Chain. Which, again, if you're searching off Chain, you might as well go for Patchwork. But it's never not good to see one of these, because you can just banish from your grave, go into an additional fusion just to really finish off your opponent, or set up a slightly more powerful board. And because you're banishing from grave, it doesn't really affect you too much, because most of the effects in this deck, bar Scythe, is effects going to the grave, not in grave. So banishing from grave has no horrible effect to us. Free Vendor. I don't think I need to explain this. Vendor is a key part to the deck. Basically, it's a searcher, it's a discard, it's an additional summon, and with wings, it's a +2. So, yeah, it's really good. Really, it's like a +2 or +3, depending on how you perceive it. And then finally, one singular factory. It's searchable, it's good for extenders, but it's not as good as it can be, because it can search out a Fright Fur Fusion, kinda. It's good, but again, not as good as anything else in this deck. So I only run it at 1 because I want to see it, but I don't always want to see it. Plus, it's searchable, so if I ever need it, I can just search it. So yeah, at 1's quite nice. And now we're into the extra deck. We're going to go into 1 Wolf. Basically for the OTK strategy, if you know what that is, basically because Wolf can attack multiple times, equal to the amount of fusion material for it. So what you do is you just dump a load into the grave, Fright Fur Fusion, banish all that you dumped, go into Wolf, if they've got a board that you can easily break and just go bop, 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 bop. So it's only there for that reason. So yeah, I don't see us running more than one. Singular Tiger, because it's nice to have the popping and the gaining attack effect, but obviously you only really want to see that once, because obviously this is more of like an OTK trying to make strategy. So if you go first, this isn't great. There is a good way to go first, so you can try to OTK next turn. So Tiger's nice, but obviously, as I said, because it requires the specific of sabers, it's not as easy to bring out, and I don't see me going into it as often as I do any other Fright Fur when I play test this deck. I tend to go into other Fright Furs rather than Tiger, so it's more situational in my mind. It might not be in yours. Next, we have our Singular Kraken, because the center graveyard effect is really good, and it's got amazing stats, and it's generic. A few people would play it at 2, but because how easy it is to recycle this thing with Sabertooth, I can't bring myself to take something out, because there's a lot in this deck, extra deck. It's kind of a tight extra deck for me, so I can't really take much out, and I can't justify taking something out for a second Kraken, unfortunately. Next, we've got a single Daredevil. This is for a fusion monster we're going into later. And Daredevil is never summoned outright. I never fusion summon this thing. I tend to use it via the effect of a different fusion. So it's only there really for its high attack points. And not in a beat stick way, unfortunately. So next we have 3 of a single card. Fright Fur Cruelwell. This is the card that uses Daredevil, because its effect is to send a Fright Fur to grave to increase attack. So it literally just increases by 3k, and it's a quick effect, so it's really good. Because it's not like a change of game state that will allow you to replay your attack. The only ones that allow you to replay your attack is if a monster's destroyed or moved or whatever. This doesn't do that, so whatever you're attacking will immediately get a 3k up and just attack over you. So it's quite nice. Also, they're level 9s, so I can go into a certain XCs that a lot of people wouldn't expect to fight Fluffals to go into, which I've pulled out a couple of times, and it just screws the opponent really bad. Because if you go first, that's the king strategy, is to go into 2 level 9s and then pop that XCs out, and your opponent can't really do much at that point. Yeah. Next, we have our 3 Sabertooths. The reason I'm running 3 Sabertooth is because they're basically really only used as like recursions. So if I go into the XCs with like the Fright Fur Cruelwell, I can go into Sabertooth. Sabertooth bring that back. Sabertooth can bring back a lot of the Fright Furs and really up the OTK potential of this deck, which is really nice. So that's why I run 3 for that one reason. I could potentially cut it down to 2, but nah. Final Fusion, Nightmare. Again, this is more to show off the OTK potential of the deck. So it gains attack for every Fiend and Fairy you have in the grave. And this entire deck is consisting of Fiends and Fairies. So it gains a ton of attack and just beats over. Plus, I think it has like an additional effect, but I never really use the additional effect. I could be a bad player for that, but yeah. And now we're going to go into the Bahamut Shark and Toad combo that I said about earlier. There's not really much to say, just Dolphin and Penguin can make Bahamut. You can go into Toad, that's a negate and an additional add to your field, so it's a plus. And it's a body on board for like the one link I'm playing. True King is the level 9 XCs that I've been talking about. So basically, if you drop True King of all calamities to the field, a lot of decks can't get around this. Especially since if you play it correctly, this is like the 3rd or 4th summon, so they can't even Nibiru it. And even if they do, you can just chain this and negate by declaring Earth. I think Nibiru's Earth, but still, you can declare whatever Nibiru is, and boom, Nibiru can't do a shit. And finale, the link, Cross Sheep. literally just for the recursion ability. So you link 2, hopefully getting rid of Bahamut Shark as you do, because otherwise it's basically dead on board at that point. So you link it away with something else, go into Cross Sheep, fuse into one of the zones it points to, get a monster from grave, play off of that. So that's my Fluffal deck. I'm not saying it's great, and this is definitely not budget, but this is a deck that I've loved, and as I said at the beginning, holds a special place in my heart. I love this deck. I love what it represents. And now that I've got it again, and I own every single Fright Fur, Fluffal, and Edge Imp card that exists, I never get rid of them. And I'm hoping we get more support even later down the road, because I love this deck. I really do love this deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed the first deck profile of Chris Deckmas, or whatever I'm going to call it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one, which will be Paleo Frog. Woo.